Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased, except ours. I am Colin,
Craig.
And I'm Daniel.
and we had the unenviable task of watching the newest, or the Uncharted movie, this week, and let's just get into it. I did not like it, really. What did you guys think?
I thought it was okay. I mean, not a ringing endorsement, but I feel like if you were to watch it, it would be like, all right, that was okay. Mindless entertainment.
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but I agree with Craig. I probably would never watch this movie again.
I think my biggest problem with it is Tom Holland himself. He is horribly, 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 horribly miscast.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely, I think, the biggest knock on it.
Yeah.
I know people didn't like Mark Wahlberg in it, and he's like that in every movie, so he's okay. He's that
Yeah.
annoying Boston guy who's he wisecracks.
Yeah, I thought he was the exact same character. He's the same way in other guys, any movie.
Yeah. The
But
Departed. But
yeah.
I was doing some research, and I think what I read was before Tom Holland was cast, Nolan North, the guy who apparently did the mocap and voiced Nathan Drake in the video game, said someone like Chris Pine would have fared better. And I agree.
You said that after the movie?
I think he said it before the movie came out, or before they casted Tom Holland.
Oh, because if he said that after they cast it, it's like, ooh.
But I think someone like Chris Pine definitely would have fared better than Tom Holland. I don't know what it is with this guy, but he just has a tendency to pick the worst scripts imaginable.
Well, I think, didn't they want to go young for Nathan Drake?
I have no idea.
Is that why
I'd
they casted
imagine
him?
I would imagine so, but
Because in the games, he's like in his like mid to late 30s, right?
yeah, at the
Yeah.
time, Chris Pine probably would have been better. I mean, I think Chris Pine's in his early 40s now.
Because I mean, it's a pretty obvious like Indiana Jones homage.
Yeah, that's to say the least. They even had
Well,
the
like the
the
inspiration of
travel
the series, right?
montage. I don't know. Let me just go off by saying I know nothing about the Uncharted series. I never played a single game of it. I'm not a fan of it. I know what it is, but I never played a game, and I
Yeah,
never
none of us
intend
have
to.
played it, but yeah, I know enough about it where I know what the game's about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Chris Pine would have been a much better choice.
Yeah, I just
Well, no, it is Tom Holland is playing a little bit. He's playing a slightly more mature version of Peter Parker. That his version of Peter Parker. That's essentially the character he's playing. It's just it doesn't fit. Like
Because I feel like
that.
you're trying to cast someone to basically like be an Indiana Jones knockoff, and he just does not sell it as the Indiana Jones knockoff.
he doesn't have like the screen presence or even the charisma to pull that off.
Yeah, like the awkward or young kid doesn't fit this role.
Yeah, he doesn't fit the role of being like a smart thief. Essentially, is what he is, or he's like,
Yeah, thief, treasure hunter.
yeah,
Yeah, you needed someone that was more like seasoned and more sarcastic. Honestly, someone that would have been more along the lines of Mark Wahlberg's character, maybe just not Mark Wahlberg. Maybe they could have gotten your boy Colin, Ryan Reynolds.
oh god, no, he's too sarcastic
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I think they wanted to go younger because like both characters are like Sully was an old man
in the
in
game.
the games.
Oh,
Well, I guess they were probably casting younger for the hopes of like starting a movie franchise with it. If it ever,
I mean,
were to
when I
take
say
off,
older, I
then
mean he
they
doesn't have to be like
have.
70. He could be in his 50s.
Well, I think that's what they were going for, is to try to set up a franchise. If they want to do like a trilogy, then they have these two that are young enough to do the three movies together.
but they could
Yeah,
have
but they
easily done that
horribly
with
miscast.
yeah, they could have easily done that with like Chris
So
Pine
I'm
and
not.
just used makeup on him.
I'm not
Oh,
defending
I
Tom
know.
Holland. Believe me, when he was doing the Peter Parker routine, I was annoyed.
Yeah, someone just get him off the screen, please. I think he
But
fits better for like a comedic role, like that awkward teen role, which is very limited range. He's not an action hero. He
well, I
he
was gonna
just
say
isn't.
he's not a main. He's not the main star. Like you were saying, he doesn't have the presence to actually be the main guy. He worked as Spider-Man because, again, when Robert Downey Jr. was on the screen, Downey Jr. was the main character. That's why he fit in Infinity War, and even Spider-Man, like more of Homecoming, like the first Spider-Man, it worked because you kind of had Tony Stark and like Michael Keaton, other guys that are actually number one guys to carry the scenes. He fits more of he's a good side guy, like that awkward kind of comic relief because he's not really funny, but you could throw him in there for the awkwardness, like as a side guy. I think he fits better there. And I get it, like he's acrobatic, he can do all like a lot of those stunts, but that's not enough for him to be the main guy.
Yeah, I agree. It just he has very limited range. I know he's trying to get out of that Disney shadow, that Marvel shadow. But I
Wasn't
think
it
he
Sony technically?
whatever, the Spider-Man, the Spider-Man mantle, I guess you could say. He wants to get out of that shadow, and I get it. But I think he has to realize that embrace your cast typing, I guess. It's not like
Yeah, but
he's
I feel like
being signed
every
by
actor is
Disney
like that
Channel,
though.
It's not like he's being signed by Disney Channel. He's getting movie gigs. It's just that he's just
What
picking stuff that aren't the right roles for him.
you know what his character would have fit if you had say you had someone like Chris Pine be Nathan Drake, and say this was like the second movie in the franchise, or like maybe or one of the later movies, and then Tom Holland is like his protege. He would have fit that perfectly.
He's like the
Like
annoying
if
sidekick.
yeah, like he's the new up and coming guy, and and then you have like a weathered Chris Pine, just like oh god, all right, I'll bring this kid along my adventure, and then they kind of banter like that. I feel like that's where he would have fit perfectly.
I mean, like with the jokes with Mark Wahlberg, he just kept on calling him a kid. Essentially, it's just like, oh my god, I get it. He looks young. He looks like a 15-year-old child. I get it.
But like in the movie, he's supposed to be like 25 years old. I mean it's young, but I wouldn't call him like a kid. Like he's just stealing from people like constantly.
Yeah.
Because I will say that there is one thing I hate in this movie. Like it's not only this movie, but like when basically when they're thieving, like it's almost like impossible, like the impossible pickpocket. Like something zipped up
Oh
in their
yes,
backpack,
yes.
and they somehow
I was
like
gonna talk
bumped
about
into them
that.
and stole it.
Yeah,
Well, Colin, before we talk about
this
that,
is in Skyrim.
should Craig give a plot summary since he's a big Nolan North fan and Tom Holland fan?
Yes. Craig, would you mind
Yes.
just giving us a very brief plot synopsis, please?
So Nathan and his brother Sam, who are somehow descendants from Sir Francis Drake,
Hmm.
even though he didn't have any children, his brother gets kicked out of, I guess, the orphanage they were staying at, and his brother goes off, and he grows up without his brother. He's a pickpocketer bar till he's found by Sully, who brings him on these travels to find the treasure of it's the lost city of not the lost, like the treasure from the Magellan voyage.
Yeah.
And yeah, they meet a bunch of like goons and stuff. People trying to betray each other, but Nate and Sully they got each other's back, and they win at the end. Even though they don't get the treasure, but they got each other.
I
That's what
got a little
really
treasure.
matters. But yeah, but they didn't get
And
the
they
bulk of
destroyed history too while they're at it.
it.
That was so funny.
Okay, so this I think it's fair for this movie's case to compare it to Indiana Jones because it's very desperately trying to capture the feeling of
I mean,
Indiana
the games
Jones.
were too. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't like
but the thing with Indiana Jones was he wasn't a thief. He was just trying to find artifacts to put it in a museum. This guy is kind of a scumbag where he just goes around and they're just thieves essentially. Like they're just stealing to gain monetary value. They're not trying to preserve history, which
yeah, which
I
makes it
guess
harder
could
to.
rub people the wrong way because their intentions are bad essentially.
Well, yeah, that's why like everyone's like trying to betray each other for the money. Like no one's really doing it for the like when Indy gets betrayed, it's because the person's actually a bad guy, not because he's trying to like get fame from Indy.
See, I thought this series was based more off like Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
Well, that's
I mean,
based
that's
off
probably an
Indiana
inspiration
Jones too,
too.
probably.
I mean, I think they're all like inspired by Indiana Jones because I know Lara Croft came out like 10 years before Uncharted. I don't know much about that either besides, her and like I think she shoots velociraptors in the first game.
What?
I didn't play those games either.
Yeah, I didn't play it.
He shoots velociraptors?
Yeah, it's like one of the things I always see from the first game. Like apparently she's like fighting dinosaurs.
Are you sure? Are you sure you weren't playing like Torok, Craig?
No, I'm 100. No, I will send you a link if I have to. Like I'm not. I know she fights velociraptors.
You just have a video of yourself. Watch.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a that Dinosaur Hunter game and Lara Croft crossover.
Craig made a mod.
What was I saying?
Oh, not one of those sickos.
Yeah, the appeal of the character, I guess you can say, is
I can send you the links
no,
now. Like,
that's okay. I think it just if you're trying to set this guy up, like, how can you make someone who's inherently like doing something evil like a good guy, you know? I think
I
that's what
mean,
the movie struggles with a little bit.
because I think in the games, they always try to make it like, oh, he's quirky. He jokes around a lot. Like probably more like Ryan Reynolds, which I know Colin loves.
Oh God.
I think that's supposed to endear you to him. Plus, you play as him, so you don't really question your character's motivations.
Yeah, he's just in it for the wrong reasons. I guess they didn't want to copy Indiana Jones too much, where he's trying to preserve history. So I guess they're like, oh, what if we spin it and he's a treasure hunter. He just wants money. Craig, I don't want your link. Get out of here.
That's Lara Croft fighting dinosaurs.
I wrote down some notes. Just a couple of
Oh,
notes. So when they at the end when they find the two ships in the cave, how did no one ever find that beforehand? There is literally direct sunlight and open space above the ships.
I know, big enough that a helicopter could pull
Yeah,
them out.
I know. I get in the movie's logic that they needed the two keys, and they put them together to pinpoint where it is on the map. And they're lucky, I guess, that you have to push down on it because wouldn't have the when you put the two crosses at the same spots, wouldn't it be over it a little bit if you didn't know how to push it down? So it's like slanted and pointed at it.
well, also too like they were like just like trying to find like who's spinning around on the map. I was like, I don't think that's how it would work, but whatever, man.
Yeah, that made no sense. With the they just get the helicopters and they pick up the ships, which I will forgive the logic of maybe if it could break immediately. Probably it's like they did this in the 1600s. They used those ships. They would break instantly as soon as you tried airlifting them.
Yeah, I think they should have maybe done a more Goonies approach. Like you blow a hole in the side and you try to sail them out.
That would at least make more sense. I mean,
Yeah.
But if that's not bad enough, once they have like a helicopter battle with these ships, and they're banging up against stone, like mountains, I guess you could say, like
like still
stone
like big islands or
structures.
No,
whatever.
that
Yeah,
yeah, especially when what was her name? Bennett or something like that. Uh,
the bad
The
lady,
girl from You.
yeah, yeah.
Joe.
Um,
Joe.
Joe. Yeah, when she, when they first got into the cave after Mark Wahlberg and Peter Parker, the girl says to the one guy, she's like, "You don't put a bullet in these. Like these are worth a lot themselves." And it's like you just completely disregard that in the helicopter battle, like when they're just getting banged up and everything.
Oh yeah, like at the moment like they started like to take out the guys, like they're immediately destroying the ship, and it was just like
Big
no
eye
regard
roll.
for keeping the ships. Like Indy would have done a better job.
I think also it's just like at the end when they drop the ship, that's what makes it break, is it falling into the water, not it like colliding with a mountain at high speeds or whatever, a
They
big
literally
stone
the
structure.
one helicopter literally battering rammed the one ship with the other and lodged it into it.
Yeah, they would have crumpled immediately. They would have just been pieces and people flying everywhere and gold.
I will say though that helicopter scene was my favorite just because the movie went out of its way to brutally murder all the goons. Like the one guy, like Mark Wahlberg hopped up in the helicopter and he throws the one guy out of the helicopter. The guy hits like the
Oh
bird's
yeah.
nest and then goes into the water. The when he lifted like went over the other helicopter with the ship and it hits the water, Tom Holland goes over the side and the other guy bounces out and hits like a rock and you hear like a crunch noise. Those did get some chuckles out of me. Or the
You're a
or
sick
when
person.
they're dropping the
Colin,
cargo
you're no one to talk.
or they're dropping the car. I know Colin chuckled at this one when they're dropping the cargo out and the one guy's behind Tom Holland like they're hanging on and then Tom Holland ducks and the cargo just hits the guy in the head and takes him out.
I think that scene was just I don't know if that I think that's from one of the video games.
Yeah, because I think that was a stage in PlayStation All
The car
Stars.
scene. And it just looks so ridiculous. I mean like suspension of disbelief obviously in these movies. But he's just like standing on the car on his 2 feet, not even holding on when it's plummeting down to the ocean. It's like, what is this?
It's a movie magic. Ooh.
It was too over the top. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like that the car scene or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, the
I mean,
helicopter scene was over the top with carrying
oh,
two
that was where
ships.
I was like, yeah, okay. Like now they're like ramming into each other. It's like, okay, now you're losing me.
See, at least if they like, it would have been more fun if they like one group sails out another ship and the other group is chasing after them in the other ship.
Yeah,
It's
they're
a
like
little
loading the
like
cannonballs.
that would have been at least more fun. But like when you just have helicopters flying with these ships, it's like all right,
Yeah.
loading the cannons.
And he said that cringy thing. He's like, "Full speed ahead, me lads," or whatever he was saying. I was like, oh, he's just said like a bunch of pirate jargon. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's probably like one of the more accurate stuff from the game, which is one of the reasons why I refuse to play it.
What, the cringy stuff?
Like all these like, one-liners to make you endear to the character, but like for me, it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, I guarantee you, Indiana Jones would never say anything like that.
Because the most I know about the first Uncharted game, I watched the Internet Historian's video explaining it, and that's probably what I got most of my info from. So not the best source, but that's where I got a lot of my info from. He was basically making fun of the game for like 2 hours.
Oh man.
Indiana Jones would have been on the ship and he sees the other ship. He's like, pirates. I hate these guys.
If he was driving the ship out or whatever, moving the ship out of the cave, and he'd probably be smirking. He wouldn't say anything. He'd probably smirk, and that's all you need.
Well, like the
Well,
the
that,
trademarked Harrison Ford smirk.
Yeah.
uh,
Pirates.
uh,
I hate these guys.
or like when they drop the ship from the helicopter and it starts sailing on its own, and
Yeah.
Tom Holland said, and he says the line of like, "Oh, you can't put a price on that." And Mark Wahlberg's like, "Yes, you can." Like,
I want to talk about something else that bothered me was the constant voiceover of Tom Holland's brother, where
oh,
it makes it feel like this movie is made for dumb people, where they have to constantly reinforce like what did I write down?
like the movie has some sort of
Yeah,
weight
we
to it.
already know their connection, and they talked about what was it earlier? They mentioned it 3 times. It was like the difference between Lost and Gone, right?
Yeah,
They
you,
said that
you heard the
three
voiceover.
times.
If
Yeah.
something's lost, that means it can be found.
Yeah, and they say at the very end, and it's his voiceover again. It's like, adults or anyone who's smart enough, or anyone like average intelligence would get that immediately. Just seeing the ship, you don't have to play his voiceover again or whatever. I think they played it when he saw the ship the first time.
Yeah.
I forget when, but you don't have to constantly hit the audience over the head with these.
Or every time he pulled out and looked at the postcards, they literally had his voiceover for every single postcard.
Yeah, you can just read it. Like if you just, it'd be like a couple words, and they'll have his voiceover. It's just like we can read. You don't have to have his voiceover.
Or you don't even have to have like what he wrote. You could just have Tom Holland just looking at the cards like with a sad face. Like you get it. You understand what the character's thinking. Like also his
I get
brother's
it.
kind also his brother's kind of a is kind of a scumbag in the beginning. Like, you and your brother are orphans, your little brother, like you shouldn't like he was like, okay, I'm getting kicked out fine. It's like you're just abandoning your little brother. Like you're kind of a scumbag.
Yeah, for what?
Like
To
you guys
steal something? It
we're gonna be
was
it's
like
like
he,
why wouldn't you just wait till you're both old enough, leave, and then go do your adventures together? Why would you be a scumbag and leave him when he's young?
or it's like, why do you have to steal something? Like, usually, if you want to be sympathetic, it'd be like, oh, he got kicked out for like standing up for his brother to bullies, and they're like, no, you can't fight back against the bullies. Something where you'd be on his side. Like, you're really not on the side at all. You're like, well, you should be kicked out. You tried to steal a priceless artifact.
And apparently that was your third strike, so you've been warned before.
Yeah, you're just stupid at that point.
Yeah. Or at least he could have tried to like take Nathan with him, something to like actually build more of the bond. It's like you don't really get much of a bond. It's like his brother abandoned him.
Which is funny too, because but like looking at like stuff for the game, like apparently his brother was like thought to be dead. Like his brother really didn't have much of a role in the first three games, but like in the fourth game, his brother came back. So like his brother didn't really have much of a role in like in the games until like recently. So I don't know why he's like a big deal in the movie, which was like a prequel to the first game.
Oh, is it a prequel?
Well, I don't know if it's a prequel, but like I think it was supposed to be like when they were younger, because that's what I remember reading somewhere. Like that's why they casted him, I think. Like Tom Holland. They won like a younger because I think this all takes place before the first game, even though they have references to other games.
Well, they stole the whole car thing from a game, like the car getting parachuted out.
Oh yeah, like I know that, but like I think it's supposed to take place before the first game. Unofficially, officially, who cares?
Can we talk about terrible comedy? I know we touched upon that already, but another eye roll was the very heavily Scottish guy who would
Oh.
mumble
Oh
something and be like,
yeah.
"I want a Scottish welcome," and then Tom Holland would be like, "Huh? What'd you
It
say?"
was you got like like a smirk the first time, but like after that, I was like, it's the same joke over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Something
the
I
whole
did
like
find that was kind of funny was when Nathan was chasing Frasier throughout Spain. You could clearly tell like when her back was turned, it was clearly like a stunt double because like they wouldn't show her face. It might have been like a man or at least a more athletic woman like running around. Then like they would show her clearly not running and not moving. Then they turn around and like it's clear the stunt double again. Did you notice that, Colin?
I did not know.
I noticed that because I felt like it was a little obvious.
I was on my phone sometimes during the movie.
Oh, okay. And it missed
well
that
ano-
important detail.
another joke that died really quick was the oh, you think, I'm not giving you this. You think you're gonna just double cross me? It's like, all right, like
Yeah, I mean, he's paranoid.
every
He clearly
time
like, was trying to screw people over.
every time they got to another part of like the treasure hunt, it's like it was everyone was like, oh, you're not gonna double cross me. It's like, all right, we get it.
We get it. No honor amongst thieves. We get it.
And also too, it was like, what kind of picture were they like? Um, like they never answered this question about
What
yeah,
question?
like Bennett and Frasier kept saying like, oh, you don't know the kind of person Sully is, and it's like,
Who's Bennett?
wasn't that the bad girl? Wasn't that her
Joe
name?
Braddock.
Braddock? I thought it was Bennett.
Chloe Fraser. Fraser. It looks more
Leisure.
like Fraser.
No, it's Frasier.
How do you know?
Just trust
Interesting.
us.
I know what you're saying.
But they're like, oh, you don't know you don't know the kind of person he is. It's like, and they never gave an example of like why like Sully couldn't have been trusted, with the exception of when Sully explained to him like he had to leave his brother behind.
Because he was shot.
Ugh,
Yeah,
but
and
just
he
the way Mark Wahlberg said that too just sounded really suspicious. He just made it sound like he shot him in the head. It just sounded like he was obviously lying, and I guess that's just maybe how Mark Wahlberg talks. I don't know how to emulate it, but he's just like, I don't know, dude. It's just like it was going crazy, and I had to leave.
You just left him there? Yeah.
I mean, I don't blame him for just leaving, honestly.
But there was no other they kept trying to drive this thing like Sully couldn't be trusted. And it was like even though he left his brother for dead, if you want to put it that way, like it's not like he killed his brother and screwed him
Or
over.
betrayed
Like
him.
yeah, like he didn't really do anything wrong, and what he was discharged from the military for stealing something. It's like, well, they're all thieves. I don't think any of them are gonna look down on that. But like they never gave like another example of how Sully like was someone that couldn't be trusted. It's like you're all thieves. Like it's not like he murdered a village for some gold. It was like, oh, he just left a guy who was already dead.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he's so bad. Especially when like you
Yeah,
have people who are actually like murdering people for this
yeah.
treasure.
That Braddock literally slit that guy's throat. That
Antonio
guy slit his
Banderas killed
dad's
his own
throat.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too, like how he was like, I guess supposed to be the big bad, but then they just like nonchalantly kill him off.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Because like, why are you setting him up like, oh, it's my family's treasure, all this backstory, and then he just gets killed off, and the woman wants to take everything. Like, why couldn't she just be the villain the whole time?
This movie really should have been called No Honor Among Thieves. That's what I think that's the point they were driving home. No
Well,
one
it's
can be
basically the
trusted.
title of the second game.
No one can be trusted. It's like, yeah, you're all thieves. It's what you do.
Yeah, I don't. It's a mess.
Well, because you thought he would maybe play some role. Like, I didn't think he'd get killed off like right at the beginning of like the third act. I was like, I mean, not that I was like, oh my God, I'm so shocked. It's more of just,
Yeah,
oh,
It's just a
doesn't really make any
waste.
sense.
It's a
Yeah.
waste.
yeah. Just have Antonio Banderas be the bad guy from the beginning. It wasn't like a plot twist, like he was the mastermind or anything. Like,
And like, I guess Joe killed him out of anger then, right? But
I mean,
he wasn't wrong to hire another person because she clearly wasn't doing the job like well.
yeah,
Why he
she was
hired
pretty
Chloe?
incompetent.
Yeah, I don't know why she got so mad. It's like you are incompetent.
No, I just love how they're like they all betray people, and then when they get betrayed, they're all like kind of shocked they got betrayed in a way. It's like you're like this is the nature of your game. Like what? Like what Antonio Banderas did was pretty logical.
I
I
mean,
mean,
They
it
say
worked,
like
right?
they
aside
say
from killing his dad.
yeah.
But I mean, I think
You know,
people have killed
it
less to
did work.
secure their inheritance.
It did work too.
Well, yeah, because his dad was trying to stop the funding of the
He said he wanted to
expedition.
give away his family's
Yeah,
fortune.
that's what it was. And he was like, "It's not yours to give."
Also, too, I mean, and stuff like that, you could easily sue him for like incompetence and get like the power of attorney. Like, dude, you don't have to kill the dude. Like, you can easily get power of attorney over him.
Well, you see, Craig, his dad looked down on him, so
Obviously, you have to kill him to show that you're not the monster he thinks he is, even though you kind of are.
yeah. Wouldn't that have been like a better like kind of story for the villain? Like his dad looks down on him, so his whole motivation is to prove his dad wrong and restore his family's honor while his dad's still alive, and then it ends up costing him in the end.
But like,
That would
he
have, I
only
feel like, been better written.
also, it didn't really make sense for him to like have all these mercenaries because I'm pretty sure if he just paid like Mark Wahlberg to find the treasure, like he would find the treasure. Like, you don't have to keep all that treasure for yourself. Like, you could just give Marky Mark a couple of $1 million and he'll find the treasure for you. And you don't have to kill anybody. You take it for yourself.
Or
Like
also, why wouldn't they if they all kind of knew that he was related to his bro, like they knew that he was Sam's brother, like why would they have just gone to him directly? Why wouldn't they have just paid to get him out of the orphanage, train him if they all they know he's related to that guy? Why wouldn't you just go to him directly?
I know we're starting to overthink it, but like, now that we're mentioning, his plan didn't make too much sense. He just stick to being Puss in Boots.
or stick to meaningless cameos in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he dies like a punk in this movie, like in Indiana Jones.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah, they could have at least had him die in the helicopter fight, something like that.
I mean, maybe the
But
obvious choice would have been like to have him, his greed for his family's treasure, what cost him his life. I guess you could say maybe that's the obvious thing to do, but it's
But
definitely better
it
than
works for a
him
reason.
just getting his throat slit on a plane over to the area. That would have been so much better.
that would have that would have been funny though if like Tom Holland like things were flying out at him and he's hanging off the back and
His
one of
body
them was
flies
Antonio
off.
Banderas.
Yeah, that actually would have been pretty funny if they had done that.
Or at least don't kill him after he gives that speech. Like that was bad timing.
Yeah, she just
But
walks up and slits his throat.
And also too, like
tough scene.
isn't he funding this entire expedition? Like it's his company is gonna like airlift everything and get all this stuff. It's like if he's not there, I feel like people would ask questions.
I mean, like, how did nobody in the room just decide to shoot Joe to death after she killed him?
Uh, I guess she planned this mutiny, but I feel like I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like now that we're talking about, I guess his plan didn't make too much sense, and like I guess everyone's motivations just changed.
Well, I guess maybe that's the problem of like having so many thieves is that their intentions are always ambiguous, so they're not clear on what they want.
I was gonna say I think this movie had too many characters. That was gonna be one of my complaints. I don't think you needed Braddock, Antonio Banderas, and Frazier. Like I think if you just had Sully, Nathan Drake, and then not no, yeah, and then you just had Antonio Banderas and his like head goon. I think that's enough for the first
Well, I
movie. I don't
think
think you
Chloe
need.
is an actual character from the movie or from the games.
Yeah, she is. I
So I
guess they
think
wanted to
that
introduce her.
they had to include her. I don't think it's too many characters. It's just a
I think just like
mess
poor
what they do
execution.
with it. Yeah. Like having Antonio Banderas is fine, only if you don't have him get killed by Joe. Why can't she just work alongside him? She is technically the main goon until she kills him. Just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's why it's not the best movie. I did think the opening was a little weird. Like they start him, I guess I forget what the term for it is, like in the action, but uh, I don't know. Didn't really like pull me in. I was like, oh, that's the scene from the video game that they're starting the movie with, probably to get people to clap. Then they jump back to like his orphanage childhood.
Yeah, it's very weird that you just start midway through an action sequence.
Which is certainly like the biggest one in the movie too.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on at all as an audience.
Well, it's because it's from the game. I think it's the second one, so I think it was like, oh, you're supposed to clap. I think if you're a fan, but something like me, it's like I know it's in the game, but I don't understand the context.
They just open up the movie with Antonio Banderas getting his throat slit. I think it honestly would have been better, not necessarily better, but I think maybe they could have done like a little opening of like the voyage, and then you cut to the orphanage story.
I don't know,
Oh, like
like
Magellan getting killed.
Or
Yes.
you just start with the orphanage story,
I
either
think you
or.
should just start with the orphanage because I feel like if you start with the opening narration, I feel like that is a common trope with these movies or these kind of movies. Indiana Jones doesn't do that. They just start. But I would have preferred honestly no narration. So I think they should have just started in Boston or whatever
Orphanage.
they were with the orphanage.
Bastin.
Yeah, where's their Boston accents?
Tom
Well,
Holland
Marky
only
Mark
knows
has
how
his.
So
Tom Holland only knows how to do that. His Spider-Man accent.
so I know the necklace was Sam's, right? It
They said
said
it was a descendant from Sir Francis
the
Drake.
necklace itself.
Yeah, with the ring.
Right, yeah, yeah. That's from Descendant? Or that's from him, the Sir Francis Drake guy?
That's what they said in the movie, but I don't think it's obviously not real. I do want to say the Latin translation I don't think fully makes sense, but I just want to say that. I'm not an expert, but I don't think it translates what they said in the movie.
You're calling them out?
Well, so I think that was actually Sir Francis Drake's motto, but I don't think it's a great translation. Again, I'm not an expert, but from my understanding, I don't think that translates to that actual what he thought it was.
Interesting.
Because I think the literal translation would be thus great things from small things.
Are they talking about Tom Holland's height?
I wish. Well, I think because Sir Francis Drake was really poor, and he was supposed to be wealthy if he ever came back, but he obviously died. That was the other thing too. Like they made it seem like Sir Francis Drake took all the credit, or not Drake. Magellan took all the credit for the voyage. I'm like, Magellan died. How could he take credit for the first voyage around the world? Like he didn't write the history books.
So when was the map that they were looking at? When was that map created?
Well, probably after the Ferdinand voyage. So I don't know. Late 1500s, mid 1500s. I don't know.
So the map could have been entirely inaccurate.
Yeah, possibly. I don't even like I'm not even sure if it's a real map too. Because
I'm
the
going
other
to
thing too is
assume it's
like,
not.
well, the other thing too is when they made their voyage, they only went around uh the bottom of South America. Like the entire west coast of South America, North America weren't mapped yet, so they would have no idea what it looked like. At
Right.
least I don't think so.
Interesting. I feel like if there's a map that old, that dated rather, it probably would have been entirely wrong. Even if they're to pinpoint where the treasure is. That's
Well,
just me. I don't know. That's just me.
well, the thing is, like, they didn't have they didn't know what the whole world looked like. They thought like, Japan was in a different spot because, they didn't have like satellites, they didn't have all these people doing all the work for them. They were the first ones laying the groundwork.
Yeah, they're probably just going around in ships, just drawing what they're seeing and
I
just
mean, it was
assuming.
pretty accurate for what they were able to do, but they just couldn't see everything.
Interesting stuff. What else did you guys like or not like about the movie?
Ooh. I mean, I guess it's nice that they had Nolan North cameo. Not the
Yeah.
best cameo, but at least I guess it was nice to put him in the movie because a bit of a slap in the face if he wasn't in it.
Yeah, that would have been pretty bad, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, see, Craig, I didn't realize he did the voice for it. I thought Mark Hamill did the voice for that.
It's a very old reference.
Oh my god, I know what you're talking about.
I don't think that
But
didn't even exist anymore.
yeah, I was a little shocked that he had a cameo.
But like
But
we said in the Mario movie, the other thing too is I don't think they pulled any music from the games. Not that I think it's all that noteworthy, but I think they just had generic movie music, no video game music for this movie.
Well, I guess we wouldn't know because we didn't play the game, so I guess
I
that's
looked that
unf.
up, there is none.
he snapped
Oh.
out of that.
Cynthia Freeland over there with NFL Next Gen Stats.
Oh yeah, because I knew I wouldn't recognize it, but I just wanted to see did they pull anything, and of course they didn't.
Well, could you make the argument that the music from the game isn't even memorable?
I mean, that's probably a possibility, but well, to me, it always rubs me the wrong way. Like, these games have like so much stuff to pull from. They're like, you know what, your music's not good enough. It's like who
I
are
mean,
you?
what if
Like, you're
what?
making generic mu movie music.
Well, I think that could be true. Again, I don't know what the music sounds like in the game, so I wouldn't know. But if there isn't like a distinguishable theme, like it would be disgusting and terrible if an adaptation of Mario movie did that, or even Zelda, like something with a recognizable theme.
Well, Sonic doesn't have any recognizable music in it, and it's got some recognizable music, or it's video game music, and it has memorable stuff.
Well, I know he has like the Green Hill Zone or whatever that's called. I know that one. But just
Um,
like it's not, I guess, super famous. I don't know. I think you should include some of the stuff from the source material, but
like even Detective Pikachu, they had nothing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they should have.
They
They
had
just they
Ryan
just
Reynolds.
they just had Ryan Reynolds singing the Pokemon theme for a little bit.
Yeah, which is the American version. It's, uh,
Let's be honest, the American version of that song is probably better.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't speak Japanese,
I feel like the
Fair
Japanese
point.
one is probably just more aggressive.
or it's got like a Japanese pop singer.
Oh, there you go, Colin. I might have some K-pop for you.
What does that have to do with anything? I think a positive for this movie is that it's under 2 hours.
Yeah, it didn't take long to get into anything. It moved along. Nothing ever felt like it dragged. Everything kind of just kept moving along.
Well, I think some of the stuff with some of the character moments with Tom Holland and Chloe dragged a little bit.
I
It's like
think
they're
I think
hinting at a
I think those
potential
scenes I think those
relationship.
scenes wouldn't have felt as dragged along if you had a better casted Nathan Drake there. It would have probably landed there better. But I think because it's Tom Holland and he's just awkward, it
Yeah.
drags.
If Nathan Drake
Which
was an awkward, angsty teenager, Tom Holland would have fit the bill.
and he's from New York again.
Well, he's living in New York. He's from Boston.
That's where his orphanage is.
That's true.
I do want to say, like you said, another positive. I guess this movie didn't have, every time like a movie comes out, they have like tons of setting up for sequel stuff. This movie really didn't have that. I mean, I know they
Well,
set up like
it,
the
it
missing
ended
brother.
Yeah, they hinted
it
at the
it
end.
ended with Sam saying like, "Don't trust Sully." Was that what it said?
Oh, like the end credit scene.
Yeah.
But still, like, I mean, but so, like end credit scenes, I feel like are fine. But like the overall movie is just, I felt like wasn't trying to set up
Oh, I didn't even watch
a
the
million
uh the
sequels.
mid credit scene. It says in Wikipedia, Nate meets with a man working for Roman, who apparently is an Uncharted character, offering his ring for a Nazi map he has. He tries to betray Nate, but Sully saves him. They escape, but are cornered by an unseen figure. How did I miss all this?
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
I I saw like when Mark Wahlberg came in, but I paused and then just walked away.
I guess when the credits rolled, I was like, I'm out. Finally, it's over.
How did I?
I guess another positive for this movie is that they didn't make that relationship happen between Nathan and Chloe.
Is that something? Is that
Well,
relationship in the games?
In the games, he marries some other woman
Oh,
who's like a reporter. Because I remember that from the Internet Historian video.
oh yeah.
in the games, do him and Chloe have like a flirtatious relationship?
There
I
is
You know,
a
like
he
mid
hasn't
credit
covered
you
that
kind
scene.
of
video
like
yet.
Mark Wahlberg has a mustache in this scene. This is crazy.
oh
Oh,
yeah, he
like it's
did
like
say
Sully's
oh yeah,
mustache.
because Tom Holland when he came, he's like, "What's that on your face?" And he's like, "Oh, uh, puberty will come for you too, kids." Something like that. Some
Oh,
stupid, cringy.
oh, maybe I'm glad I didn't watch it.
It, it was like a Freddie Mercury mustache, Colin,
Oh,
which it
listen.
just didn't. I don't know why they gave Mark Wahlberg a mustache.
Yeah,
Well, because the character has it, Sully.
Oh, all right, maybe for the this adaptation, he doesn't have any facial hair.
yeah. Facial hair doesn't
Well,
look good on Mark Wahlberg.
well, I know at the
Yeah.
game too, like Sully's always smoking a cigar because I remember seeing like the mocap stuff, and obviously he wouldn't smoke a cigar with mocap. He was always holding like a big marker, pretending to smoke it. That's how I know he smokes. Plus, I saw the Internet Historian video. Not that it matters.
Interesting. So Braddock
Yeah.
did shoot Sam. I'm just reading this now. I don't think they ever explicitly said.
No, they
Well,
did.
no,
Oh,
at
they
the end, I
That's
did.
what.
think she said like she did shoot him.
Oh,
Well,
oh,
because
maybe.
Mark Wahlberg told him that in the tomb, and then when Tom Holland confronted her in the cargo ship.
Yeah, but they're all liars. You don't know if they're lying or telling the truth.
I mean, True, that's also a problem, but I feel like I think she I only saw this a few days ago, but I think she was like rubbing it in his face that she killed him. So I think she'd be telling the truth if she's trying to like mock him. But he's alive, so actually she is lying to him, I guess.
Also, her death was a little ridiculous because when Mark Wahlberg hits her with the bag of gold and she falls, like she felt like her back hit the water. Like that high up, she probably break your back.
You'd be dead. You would die.
It's like
Even if you
hitting
weren't dead, but
concrete.
like if you break your back, I
Yeah,
don't think you're getting out of there.
yeah.
No, Craig, I think you would die if you fell that high
Oh, I'm
and
saying if
landed in
she
the
were to
water.
somehow survive,
Oh yeah,
you're not gonna be able to escape it, so you're gonna die regardless.
you'd probably just drown after
She
breaking
gets
your
up
back and
fine, and then the
legs.
ship just drops on her.
That didn't feel satisfying as like a death. And maybe
Like
we're used to the weird, gruesome deaths in Indiana Jones, where these people have these like horrible deaths happen to them. But it felt
But
like
it's like she's built up as the big bad guy. You know, Tom Holland has a vendetta against her. Like he should have, there should have been like he should have killed her or something like that in a more satisfying way, not just Mark Wahlberg throws a backpack full of gold at her and she falls in the water and then a ship gets dropped on her.
Yeah, but Sully saved him instead of the
Yeah,
gold.
like that works for like a nameless goon.
yeah, I mean like if this is Indiana Jones, same situation. She fell in the water. She'd probably get eaten alive by sharks.
Or gators.
Yeah. I was gonna say, does anyone remember when he cut a bridge and like 13, 14 people fell off and were getting eaten by gators?
And then if it was, if J.J. Abrams filmed it, he would have filmed her going down, and then there would have been a lens flare with her falling.
But then she would survive somehow in the next sequel.
No one's ever really gone.
And if it was Zack Snyder, she would have been resurrected after 3 days.
They're 12 apostle goons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you go.
I was gonna say there really isn't much to this movie. Like it could have been a much more fun adventure movie, but I feel like they had the right elements to be a good adventure movie, but it was mishandled and miscasted.
I think the movie feels safe. It feels too safe.
Yeah.
It feels like generic adventure movie. Like, I mean, again, I don't know the video games. And maybe the video games are like that too, where they're like very vanilla, bland.
I mean, they are.
I mean, I wouldn't know.
I mean,
You're probably right, but I'm just saying, like,
well, when these movies games came out, like it
Didn't
was like
didn't
the
one didn't one of them win like Game of the Year or something like that?
yeah, because like the journos like they eat the slop of the video game movie. Like if it's like a movie, if it's like because they're very immature, and any kind of like a game that's like kind of like a movie, they feel like oh that's the better medium. If you emulate the better medium, that's Game of
So
the Year
like
material.
so essentially Last of Us.
Yeah, that one Game of the Year, the second one Game of the Year. I mean, not that I care. It's more just like I hate these gaming journalists, and they are horrible, and I wish nothing but misfortune.
my God.
They're really awful.
So they're really just grading a movie.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially what it is. Like it's
Pay $60 to when you can go to the movie theater and pay 10. Clowns.
which is what people always said. Like they adapted this. I don't think it did well critically, but I think it made decent money. The Last of Us TV show obviously got tons of praise because it's The Last of Us and had that stupid guy from The Mandalorian in it.
Grossed 400 million worldwide, but it was mixed critically, boasting a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what else. A 45 out of 100 on Metacritic. So, mixed to negative reviews to say the least. But I feel like, if we're talking about video games to movies, these kind of video games are easily the best things to adapt because they're pretty much a movie to begin with.
Oh yeah, there's really not much thought
Yeah.
like into what you need to translate.
Yeah, it just again, the video games. I don't know anything about them, but they seem like cookie cutter, bland, generic, and I think that's what this
Tell
movie
us how you really feel.
strays into. I mean, I don't know. It's just like there's nothing memorable about the movie, and we talk about Indiana Jones. There's so many memorable things. He's a icon for a reason.
Well, I mean, it's also the fact that their work, like they're made by actual talented people, not like cronies. Sony's hiring to like milk all their
Well,
franchises.
they also had somebody who was good for the role. They had Harrison Ford.
Yes.
They don't have. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine Indiana Jones's entrance in Raiders of the Lost Ark with Tom Holland. You would laugh probably seeing this baby face wearing a hat coming out of the shadows after just hitting a guy in the hand with a whip. You
Well, and
would
then
laugh.
after the guy would be like, "Oh, sorry."
Oh, sorry, man. I didn't mean to hurt you. This whip is really fast.
Stop.
Well, that was
Well,
another thing too. At the end, that bothered me was like all of a sudden he knew how to fight and like shoot a gun.
you
But
remember
like
the cringy training montage that he did?
well, the thing is like in the first scene, like in the when they're at the auction, it's like which made me eye roll because he was just dodging everyone's attacks. I was like, oh my god, it's his Spider-Man all over again. Like he didn't fight. Like
His beater
he don't.
tail.
Yeah, like he doesn't fight. Like which is fine, I guess. But like all of a sudden he's on this pirate ship and he's pulling out these weapons. He's firing a cannon. Like
I think a problem also is that some of these action hero movies or action movies, they're like sanitized in the sense that they're they're not like super violent for PG-13 and they want to keep the main character's hands clean.
this definitely felt more like a kid movie. Like if you were like a 10-year-old kid, you would have really enjoyed this
Again,
movie.
not to compare to Indiana Jones, but the first three movies, he's a globe-trotting murderer. He will kill you if
But
he
the thing is,
has
like,
to.
it also helps like Indiana Jones is going against,
Oh yeah, bad
bad
guys.
people. Yeah, like
But
he
even
goes against a
even
child.
the fourth and fifth movie, they were more sanitized than the first three. And I guess again, it's just like, oh, we want to keep his hands clean. We don't want him
But also too,
shooting
like in the
some.
in the fourth one, he was older. It wasn't like, he was in his prime anymore.
I know. I still want to see him kill people.
I mean, he did kill people. Just,
Not in the fourth one.
I mean, I remember he killed the big Russian guy. He fell in the ants.
Well, that's like an indirect murder. He like punched him, and then the guy got hauled off into an ant pit.
Yeah, but I mean, he could have saved him.
I won't kill you, but I also won't save you.
Imagine he said that for the stupid ant, like the ant's taking him away. It's like Ant-Man.
But I think yeah, that's a big problem is that they want to. Even in Spider-Man movies too, with Tom Holland, like they relatively keep his hands clean.
Well, I mean, I think that's been like a thing since the 90s. 'Cause I remember the 90s Spider-Man cartoon. I think they had like I don't know, if it's like a rule where he couldn't actually throw a punch. Like he had to, like only do kicks or like web people up. He couldn't like throw a single punch. Like in the original Spider-Man animated series show,
I mean,
I
I
don't think
guess
he threw a single
for
punch.
Spider-Man, it
Not
makes sense that he's
not
not going
not
around
Bully
and like killing
Maguire.
people. Well,
He was brutal.
yeah, it makes sense that Spider-Man doesn't do that. I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to come across as like a guy who wants to see people get murdered with their bare hands, but it's
But
just like it feels
but
too sanitized for someone who's a thief, who's already a scumbag. His loyalties are up in the air.
Well, especially in the games too, like he kills indiscriminately. Like he just kills like in the first game, I think he tried to wipe out like an island of mercenaries.
Oh my God.
But and that's what too, like you can solve that problem if you have definitive bad guys in it. So it's like, all right, his killing is justified to some degree. But,
I mean, it's not like these people were good guys either. Like they were trying to kill him the whole movie. Like, I don't know why you couldn't just put a bullet in some of them. I mean, but I guess part of it too, like maybe not shooting because then it's like too easy. Maybe it changes genre. You don't have to be like a shooter movie like Indiana Jones. Like he shoots people, but like that's not like what the movie's about. He's not like sniping
no,
people.
yeah, it's not. You're not killing people for the sake of you're killing them in the process of trying to accomplish your goal or mission. It's done out of necessity. Like Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg, when he flung the guy out of the helicopter, it's like, well, he's trying to get the helicopter, and that guy's trying to kill him. It's like, all right, you throw him out to kill him, not because you really want to kill this guy, but you kind of just have to get this done. Like they could have done that.
Like what I think what like you guys were saying before, where but they're not definitive good guys, so it kind of like doesn't make all their actions justified. Like Indiana Jones is 100% a good guy. These people are not.
Which actually,
They're like the rival thieves.
which is actually weird. If no one's a definitive good guy, the killing should go up because everyone's going to betray everyone. So it should actually give you more motivation to kill everyone.
You would think.
All right, if they ever come, would they come out with Uncharted 2? I expect a rated R. Heads are getting chopped off.
Like, obviously, you don't want a John Wick where there's just like this unstoppable force running around and just shooting everyone in the head. Obviously, you don't want that. It's just like,
But like Tom Holland, like at the end, if he killed that girl, if he killed Braddock, that would have been fine. Like he actually just kills her, like for the sake of of avenging his brother.
yeah,
That would
like,
have been that's fine. And
you don't have to
it's a
make him
satisfying
kill
ending.
people with his bare hands too. You know.
Like he could have like like knocked her off, like like stepped on her feet or stepped on her fingers to make her fall. Like, at least like I said, make him responsible for it to get revenge.
They're gonna open up if they do a second one, the opening scene is just gonna be someone getting crucified.
No, some Sony hack executive would listen to this, and the opening scene of the second one, if they ever do it, there'd just be like corpses all like opened up and like blood everywhere. Then Tom Holland, it pans on Tom Holland, he's just like ripping someone in half. This
And he has
isn't
a
PG-13
mustache.
anymore.
He has a mustache.
Yeah.
It just tones over in a dark voice. My name is Nathan Drake.
I know that's my Spurg moment of the episode. I don't know, I feel like PG-13 movies now are just too sanitized. I want to see
Yeah.
some violence.
Call it the Roman Colosseum violence.
Well, it's funny because then you get Guardians for a PG-13 movie showing all this animal cruelty.
I
But,
guess
like,
that's okay, right?
But James Bond, like, he's another one where he's still PG-13. He still runs around, he shoots people, kills people with his bare hands.
Yeah, like what was it in No Time to Die when he just snapped the bad guy's arm like ruthlessly?
Yeah.
Brutal and great. Like there's a way to show it. Like you don't obviously don't have to do rated R, but you can show them being efficient in their killing. Like you get the picture. Because even when I noticed this, like, but when Antonio Banderas got his throat slit, there wasn't even blood
It looked like a
until
red
like
marker on his
Like
neck.
ketchup.
no. Like she slits his throat. There's no mark, and then when they pan back to him laying there, then there's blood on his throat. I'm like, all right, like you got to show a little blood when his throat's getting slit. Like blood would immediately start coming out. Like you don't obviously have to like. This isn't Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like the elevator doors in The Shining.
I think too, it's just like it looks like it's like ketchup. They put a little ketchup on his throat.
Oh, it just looks, I don't know, just so goofy.
it's a weird thing to say, but it was too safe for an adventure movie. Like an
I don't
adventure
think
movie.
that's weird at all. I think it is. I said that earlier. It's just it's very safe, by the numbers, standard action hero.
No,
Like even the original Mummy, Rick O'Connell was killing those people, those Magi. He just had a gun. He was just gunning them down.
And they were the good guys.
Yeah,
No,
they were the good guys.
but I would think like with some adventure movies, it's like it goes a little over the top too much. But this, like when you're like, oh, that one was a little ridiculous. But it's better to play into the over top adventure than to do this. But
Yeah, aside from the ending where they're like helicoptering ships around, everything else is just very by the numbers, forgettable, generic, stale, boring, whatever you want to say, whatever adjective you want to use.
Tell us what you really think.
I didn't like it. I thought it was just I was bored. Again, it doesn't help when you have like a miscast movie like this. I know we already kick Tom Holland in the ground, but he's horribly miscast.
I mean, wasn't like also one of the common criticism? Like, I think everybody kind of agreed he was not the best cast for this.
Yeah. I mean, they could
I
obviously
mean,
cast
when Nolan
worse, but
when Nolan North said that someone else should have been casted, that's pretty bad.
well, he said that
When they
before Tom Holland was. I'm pretty sure. If he said that after Tom Holland, then oof. But I'm positive he said that before. I think again, I know we talked about it earlier, but I think Chris Pine would have done really well.
You could have had like Chris Pine, and then maybe you could have even had Harrison Ford as Sully. That would have been a good
I
duo.
don't know about Harris.
I think he'd have been too old.
Yeah.
Apparently not. But did you see the new Indiana Jones?
True. And in the games, I think Sully
Get
is
off my
more.
helicopter.
Because I think in the game, Sully doesn't do any fighting. I think he's just more of support. Like, he like shoot some people from a distance, but he's not gonna be like punching people in the face violently.
I think I would have hated the movie infinitely more if they dragged Harrison Ford into this.
Dude, well, if Sully
He
smokes
hands him a
cigars,
fedora.
Yeah.
if Sully is older and smokes a cigar, they should have just gotten Arnold.
They give him a whip and he says, "What am I supposed to do with this thing?"
You imagine Arnold flying a helicopter, smoking a cigar.
Ah!
He's renowned for his one-liners. Throw him in there. Throw him and Chris Pine in there.
No, I think Arnold would just be so out of place.
My name is Sully.
I'm gonna kill you last.
Come with me if you want to live.
You're not throwing me overboard.
Cocaine 'em.
He shoots a guy, ice that guy, kind of phrase.
Stick around. Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, it doesn't also help that, again, with the Indiana Jones, they had Spielberg's touch, his kinetic energy that he's so well known for. And they had this guy named Ruben Fleischer, who is like generic director. Very.
He did.
I don't even know
Didn't
what-
he do Venom?
He
Yeah,
did
he did
Zom-
Zombieland.
Yeah, whatever. He did Zombieland. He did Venom. He did Zombieland 2.
There's a Zombieland too?
Yeah.
I never
Really?
saw the. I never saw the second one. I only saw the first one.
But
Wait,
Zombieland is more remembered for like its
It's a comedy.
rules and its quirkiness. You don't remember it because it's directed well. I don't know.
Wait, there's really. Oh my God, I'm looking this up. I never knew this existed.
I knew when it was coming out. I just never saw it. I was like, Zombieland. That's like a one-off movie. You don't need to do another one.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so desperately trying to be Indiana Jones. I know we said that's what it's based off of, but it just comes across as like pathetic.
I think the real takeaway from this movie is that Colin really wishes there was a better Indiana Jones out there than what we got.
I do. I mean, honestly though, I don't know if you guys would agree. I would watch Indiana Jones 5 over this.
Ah, I don't see. I don't agree because Uncharted does make me angry. I feel nothing. Indiana Jones makes me
Yeah.
angry, which is worse.
It's miscasted, but it's not.
At least it still had
It's not.
Harrison
It's not.
Ford
It's
running
but it's-
around
but-
with a whip. I would take
but
that
it's-
over this
It's not a
nonsense.
disappointing ending to a character I actually enjoy. Like
Yeah, because
these-
this is like whatever. I don't care about Nathan Drake. I don't care how bad this is. It's like whatever. It's like when we watch like the Justice League movies. Like I don't really care how bad it is. I have no personal investment in it.
Did you see the Snyder Cut, Craig? 4 hours of brilliance. I definitely did not fall asleep 3 times watching that.
Well, it's more like like Marvel. Like we're more, hurt by it because we liked it. It was good, and they basically like kamikaze themselves.
Speaking
My
of
point
Oppenheimer,
is, my point is, I would rather watch Harrison Ford, who is still better at his ripe age of 80, I guess you could say, 81, whatever you want to call it. He is
he's
still
just beginning
better
to peak.
and charismatic
Have begun to peak.
than Tom Holland is. Young Tom Holland. I can't stand this guy. I don't hate him. He picks the worst projects imaginable.
Also, and this is true when it comes to like casting characters. Not only is it like personality and charisma and stuff like that, but they also have to look the part. He doesn't look the part. Like Harrison Ford looks the part. Tom Holland doesn't. Because he just looks like a kid.
Yeah. Because it doesn't help too. Like he's supposed to be like I think 25 in this movie, and he still looks like he's 15.
Grow some stubble, man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I think Nathan Drake has stubble, right? Or he'll get his iconic stubble in the next
It's
movie.
the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, they'll do like Indiana Jones 3. He'll be babyface, his head falls down, and then his head looks back up and he has stubble now. Be a transition.
I don't think they'd be that clever though, Colin. You give them too much credit.
That'd be so
They would,
shameless.
they would have just had, but they would have like done Chris Pine as like J.J. Abrams' cat. They would have gone in the opposite direction. They would have made him like his version of Kirk.
They're just like a frat bro.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but somehow I'm the captain of a ship.
What about like Chris Pratt?
He's in everything. I think he probably would have done better. This
Well,
goes
I
without
think
saying, he
I
would have
think
done better than Tom Holland.
well because he at
He
least would
looks
have
the part.
looked.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have looked the part of like a leading like if they. I'm not talking like personality wise, but like if they were to ever recast like a younger indie, he would be like a top guy.
I
Like
don't
he
think. I
look.
think they should just leave Indiana Jones alone.
I'm saying if they ever decide to stick with a guy, I think he would be a good choice to replace like a younger Harrison Ford because he looks the part. But not saying that should ever be done, but it probably will in 10 years.
Yeah, when Harrison Ford's dead, they probably will.
Yeah, we're like day after he dies. To honor him, we're gonna destroy everything he loves and basically trash everything he'd want us to do. That's why we're gonna honor him. He said no sequels. We're gonna do more
He
sequels.
says, "When I'm gone, Indy's gone," and he'll be gone for a day after Harrison.
And they'll recast him immediately.
Any final thoughts about Uncharted? I don't know if there's going to be a sequel. I believe that is still up in the air.
If you want a movie that you could just throw in the background and watch maybe 5 minutes here and there of it, go for it. This movie fits that perfectly. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just kind of it's like vanilla. It's just kind of there. Unless you're a fan of Uncharted, then I can't help you.
But I think if you're a fan, you would want something like the games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
Like if we were fans, we'd be angry. But I'm indifferent to it. I'll never watch this movie again. But it's just there.
Yeah, what say you, Craig?
Like I said, it's okay. Not great, but it's not like utter trash either. Because I was honestly, I was expecting like a dumpster fire, and
Yeah,
maybe that's why I didn't hate it.
it's not a disaster.
Yeah. Next time you do an Uncharted movie, bring top men.
I
Top
think I
criticism.
do think it is a movie made for dumb people because they have the. It's like they hammer you over the head constantly.
Is that why your boy liked it?
Yes, but it's I didn't like it, but it's inoffensive. It kind of is just there. It's bland. It's unoriginal. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any other adjectives to describe this movie.
It's bland, like Tom Holland.
Yeah. Again, to reiterate for the 100th time, horribly, horribly, horribly miscast. And Tom Holland should have better standards for picking scripts. I don't know what to tell him. Like,
I mean, I think because this is a Sony movie, and obviously all the Spider movies are Sony. I think Sony's just in love with him and thinks he's like the next big actor, so they're gonna
well,
throw
all
in
the other
everything.
stuff he does too
Is it?
outside of Spider-Man is just a disaster.
Well, he's an easy sell for young audiences.
Is he though?
It's Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's Spider-Man, not him.
And like Craig said, these people just eat the slop.
Yes, eat the
I mean, I
slop.
think people
Well,
saw this
those
movie.
are a video game journalist.
Yeah, this is like a video game movie, so maybe that's why people see it. He was in this movie called Chaos Walking. Horrific box office bomb. His name was, I think, second billed or top billed. It's not the actor, it's the IP.
Well, people also blamed his co-star, Ray.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, people keep calling her like box office poison.
She probably is too, honestly.
That's why she's crawling back to Disney for another awful sequel.
Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say about this movie. So this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I am Colin.
Craig.
And I'm Daniel.
I bet you are.